Far beyond the reaches of most galaxies, the Xylan watched the small blue planet with careful eyes. From their silver observation ships, they had seen countless worlds and countless species. They had cataloged civilizations that rose and fell, fought wars and built empires. Most of them were predictable. Most of them were easy to understand. But humans were different. The humans had not yet left their planet in large numbers, but their activity had caught the attention of the Xylan. Ships were being built faster than expected, weapons being prepared with precision, and training exercises conducted in ways that suggested not just discipline, but passion and determination. The Xylan observers could not hide their curiosity. "They are preparing for war," said one of the Xylan scientists, its many eyes blinking in patterns of thought. "But their technology is insufficient. They should be slow, they should fail. But they do not fail," another replied. "They are quick, too organized for a primitive species." The humans on Earth were unaware of these alien eyes upon them. On the continent, soldiers drilled in sunlight, engineers repaired ships that gleamed under the morning light, and leaders spoke of strategies with voices full of confidence. Despite their limited technology, the humans seemed fearless. Each day they grew stronger, faster, smarter. Captain Alara Dane stood on the deck of a massive transport ship orbiting Arden Prime, the distant planet where the coming battle would unfold. She looked down at the holographic map, her fingers tracing the paths of enemy movements. She knew the odds were not in their favor. The enemy forces were larger, better equipped, and more experienced. Yet she felt no fear. She felt only focus. "The humans are strange," the Xylan scientist whispered to its companion as it watched Alara move among her crew. "They are afraid, yet they are not. They know danger, yet they do not hesitate. This is illogical." Alara and her team moved with purpose. Every soldier trained, every engineer repaired, every pilot studied the patterns of enemy defenses. And every day, humans discovered new ways to overcome obstacles that would have stopped other species. A broken engine became an opportunity for improvement. A lack of resources became a reason for creativity. Nothing slowed them. Meanwhile, the Xylan observed in growing disbelief. On the bridge of their ship, their leaders discussed what they saw. "They do not understand caution," one said. "They rush forward into battle with no fear." "They are not rushing blindly," replied another. "They are choosing risks carefully. Their courage is deliberate. Their determination is stronger than our predictions." Across Arden Prime, scouts reported on enemy positions. The humans listened, learned, and planned. They studied patterns, practiced maneuvers, and trained for every possible scenario. And when mistakes happened, they adapted immediately. There was no panic, no despair, only relentless effort to find solutions. Back in the Xylan observation deck, the aliens recorded every action. Their faces, if they could be called faces, showed a mixture of fascination and worry. "They are unpredictable," one murmured. "Every time we think we understand them, they do something new. How can a species so limited in technology move with such intelligence and unity?" Alara walked among her soldiers, giving encouragement and guidance. She smiled at their efforts, proud of how far they had come. She knew the coming battle would be hard, but she also knew something important. Humans did not fight only with weapons. They fought with heart, courage, and the will to protect one another. On Earth, families watched the news of their soldiers leaving, and though fear and worry touched their hearts, they felt pride too. Pride that their sons, daughters, fathers, and mothers were brave. Pride that their species had risen to meet a challenge that many believed was impossible. The Xylan could not understand this. In their calculations, emotion was a weakness. Fear was a weakness. Yet humans had fear, but it never stopped them. Humans had doubt, yet it never paralyzed them. Humans had pain, yet they moved forward anyway. "They are unique," said the first Xylan scientist. "Perhaps more dangerous than we thought." The night before the humans would leave their orbit and descend toward Arden Prime, the aliens continued their watch. Ships were fueled, weapons were checked, and soldiers shared quiet moments with each other, laughing, joking, and comforting those who were anxious. Even in the face of a looming battle, humanity found ways to remain connected, to remain strong. The Xylan turned their attention away, almost reluctantly. They had seen many battles in many systems, but the humans' preparation was unlike anything they had encountered. It was careful, daring, and full of spirit. The calm before the storm was not just preparation, it was a testament to the heart of humanity. And soon, the storm would begin. The human fleet moved through space with a rhythm that was almost musical. Ships of all sizes glided past one another, their hulls gleaming under the distant light of stars. Each ship carried soldiers, weapons and supplies, but more importantly, each carried hope and determination. The humans knew they were outnumbered, but they did not waver. The Xylan watched from above, their many eyes wide in astonishment. They had expected humans to crumble at the first sight of enemy forces, but the humans approached with calm precision. They did not rush blindly. They did not panic. Every movement was measured, every formation calculated, and yet somehow it was alive, full of energy, full of intent. "They are coming," said the first Xylan observer. Its voice was tense. They should be afraid. They should hesitate, but they move forward like predators. "Not predators," said another. "They are determined. They fight for something more than themselves. We do not understand this." On the surface of Arden Prime, the human soldiers prepared to land. Captain Ilara Dane stood on the bridge of the command ship, her hands resting on the rail as she watched the planet grow larger beneath them. "Steady," she said to her crew. "Remember your training. Trust each other. Stay sharp." The first squads began descending in drop pods. The pods cut through the thin atmosphere with fire trailing behind, striking the planet with precision. The enemy, a coalition of alien warriors far stronger and more experienced than humans, expected chaos. They expected panic. What they received was calculated courage. As the pods landed, the humans did not hesitate. Soldiers jumped out, scanning their surroundings, moving toward objectives with careful steps. Their weapons were ready, but more than that, their minds were ready. They had trained for this moment, and nothing could shake their focus. From orbit, the Xylan watched with growing disbelief. Their instruments showed that humans were taking risks that no other species would dare. Small squads moved through open fields, sometimes in sight of enemy snipers. Yet the humans were clever. They used the terrain, improvised shields, and coordinated movements that seemed almost impossible. "They are reckless," one Xylan shouted. "They will be destroyed." "They are not reckless," another corrected. "They are unpredictable, and their unpredictability is dangerous. Look how they move. They adapt." In one sector, a human squad faced heavy enemy fire. A wall of energy blasts rained down around them, and the alien soldiers seemed ready to wipe them out. But the humans did not panic. They ducked, rolled, and moved in ways the aliens could not anticipate. One soldier threw a small device that created a temporary smokescreen, allowing the squad to flank the enemy position. In moments, the humans turned the battle in their favor, forcing the aliens to retreat. The Xylan could hardly believe what they were seeing. "Impossible," whispered one. "Their weapons are weak compared to theirs. How can they succeed?" "It is not just the weapons," another said. "It is their spirit. They fight like they will not lose. Even when the odds are impossible, they keep moving forward." Captain Ilara moved from squad to squad, giving encouragement, checking positions, and adjusting strategies. She was calm, focused, and inspiring. Her soldiers followed her not because of fear or authority, but because of trust. They believed in her, in each other, and in the mission. Across the battlefield, the human ingenuity shone. They repaired damaged equipment in seconds, used makeshift barricades creatively, and even rescued trapped civilians under heavy fire. Each act showed not just courage but compassion and intelligence, qualities that the Xylan had rarely seen in any species. "They are extraordinary," muttered one Xylan observer. "They do not fight like other species. They are willing to risk everything. Yet they are precise. They are careful yet daring. How can this be?" As the first day of battle continued, the humans slowly advanced, securing key positions and repelling enemy attacks. Every time the aliens thought they had predicted a move, the humans did something new, something clever, something bold, something human. Night fell on Arden Prime, but the battle did not end. Humans dug in, setting defensive positions and planning the next day's strategy. The aliens continued to watch, their fear growing. They had faced many enemies, but never one like this. Humans were not only strong, they were adaptable, intelligent, and fearless. Captain Ilara looked out over the darkened battlefield, her face illuminated by the glow of fires and distant explosions. She knew the fight was far from over, but she also knew something else. Humans had a power that went beyond technology or numbers. They had heart, courage, and the will to protect one another. And as long as they had that, no force in the galaxy could easily defeat them. The Xylan continued their observation in stunned silence. For the first time in centuries, they were beginning to realize that humans were a species unlike any other. They were unpredictable, they were dangerous, and most of all, they were worthy of fear and respect. The first encounter had begun, and already the aliens were starting to understand one undeniable truth. Humans were not to be underestimated. The battlefield of Arden Prime was alive with fire and noise. Explosions echoed across the plains, and the sky was streaked with smoke from damaged ships. Yet amidst the chaos, the humans moved with a strange calm, almost as if the turmoil only sharpened their focus. The Xylan observers, watching from orbit, were growing more and more unsettled. They continued to advance, one Xylan whispered. They should be terrified, yet they are not. How can they remain so calm? They are not calm, another replied. They are determined. Their courage is unnatural. Captain Alara Dane led a squad through the ruins of a city recently captured from the enemy. Buildings were crumbled, streets scorched, and the air thick with dust. Yet the humans did not falter. Soldiers carried supplies to the wounded, cleared debris, and set up defenses for the next attack. Every action was precise, every decision deliberate. Keep moving, Alara shouted over the roar of distant energy blasts. Check every corner, help who you can, and stay alert. In one alley, a young soldier, Private Mira Solis, saw a group of civilians trapped by rubble. Enemy patrols were nearby, ready to strike again. Mira did not hesitate. She called for reinforcements and began lifting heavy debris with the help of two others. Sparks flew from damaged equipment as they worked, but she smiled at the civilians, offering words of reassurance. The Xylan watched in disbelief. They are helping the weak while under fire, one murmured. This is illogical. Any other species would retreat or ignore them. They are not like other species, said another. Their bravery is combined with compassion. It makes them unpredictable and dangerous. Meanwhile, elsewhere on the battlefield, another squad faced an ambush. Alien soldiers surrounded them, their weapons trained to destroy. But the humans did not panic. They formed a circle, protecting each other, and used clever tactics to outmaneuver the enemy. One soldier rolled behind cover, then threw a small device that disabled enemy communications. Another used a makeshift sling to topple a heavy barrier, creating a path for escape. Even when a human was injured, the squad stayed together. They carried their wounded comrades to safety, refusing to leave anyone behind. Each act of selflessness, each moment of courage, struck the Xylan as almost impossible. They are willing to die for each other, one Xylan observer said quietly. They value unity over survival. How can a species be so bonded? Captain Alara moved across the battlefield, her eyes scanning every corner. She coordinated reinforcements, redirected squads, and even joined a small firefight when she saw her soldiers in danger. Her presence inspired them. They followed her lead not because of orders alone, but because they believed in her and in each other. As the day went on, the humans began reclaiming key positions. They were outnumbered, but their strategy and teamwork made up for what they lacked in technology. They set traps, used the terrain to their advantage, and communicated through a combination of signals, gestures, and voice commands that the aliens could not predict. The Xylan, who prided themselves on strategy and logic, were growing more fearful. They had fought hundreds of species, but none had combined courage, intelligence, and compassion in this way. They are more than soldiers, one said. They are a force of will. Night fell over Arden Prime and the battle slowed, but it did not end. Humans dug in and fortified their positions. Fires burned across the battlefield, but humans tended to both the wounded and the environment, showing respect for the land even in war. They shared supplies, encouraged one another, and prepared for the enemy's inevitable counterattack. Captain Alara stood on a ridge, watching the stars. She thought of her team, of the civilians they had protected, and of the days ahead. She knew the fight was far from over, but she also knew that humans had something no weapon could give, an unbreakable spirit. The Xylan, still observing, could not hide their awe. They fight with courage, one said. They fight with intelligence. But most importantly, they fight with heart. This is terrifying. Another Xylan nodded slowly. We have underestimated them. Every calculation we made, every prediction, wrong. They are not like any species we have studied. They are extraordinary. And so, as night deepened on Arden Prime, the humans rested where they could, sharing stories, tending the wounded, and preparing for the next day. Even in exhaustion, their unity, courage, and determination shone brightly. The aliens had begun to understand the truth. Humans were not merely fighters. They were a new kind of force, one that combined bravery, intelligence, and compassion in ways the galaxy had never seen. The Xylan would not forget what they had witnessed. Humans were not to be underestimated, and the longer they fought, the more the aliens realized just how dangerous and remarkable these creatures truly were. The battle was far from over, but already, humanity had shown the galaxy a truth that could not be ignored. When humans fought, they fought with heart, mind, and soul together. The sun rose over Arden Prime, casting long shadows across the battlefield. Smoke from the previous day's fight still hung in the air, and the ground was scarred with craters and trenches. Yet the humans were not slowed. If anything, they moved with renewed energy, as though the night had strengthened their resolve. Captain Alara Dane walked along the front lines, checking positions and speaking with squad leaders. "Remember what we practiced," she said. "Stay aware, trust each other, and look for opportunities. They expect us to make mistakes. Let's surprise them." Her words were met with quiet determination. Every soldier knew the stakes, yet none showed fear. They had faced impossible odds before and survived. Today, they intended to do more than survive. They intended to win. The enemy forces, confident after the previous skirmishes, moved to flank the humans. They believed their numbers and superior technology would easily crush the human positions. But as they advanced, they were met with unexpected resistance. Humans had studied their movements, predicted their strategies, and prepared clever countermeasures. Squad Delta had been assigned to hold a ridge overlooking a valley where the enemy would pass. They dug trenches quickly, set up improvised barriers, and planted sensors that transmitted enemy movements back to command. When the enemy approached, they were met with coordinated volleys of fire, traps, and well-timed diversions. From orbit, the Xylan watched in growing horror. They anticipated every move, one whispered. Every calculation we made, every prediction, they outsmarted. They are dangerous, another said. Their intelligence combined with their courage, it is terrifying. Elsewhere on the battlefield, humans used teamwork and ingenuity to gain advantage. Engineers repaired damaged vehicles in moments, turning broken machinery into clever weapons. Pilots flew small scout east through narrow canyons, surprising enemy units from unexpected angles. Even when supplies ran low, humans improvised, using local materials to create barricades and tools. One group, led by Lieutenant Ravitan, faced overwhelming numbers. They were trapped in a valley surrounded by enemy forces with no way out. Yet Ravi refused to panic. He rallied his squad, and together they created diversions, set up traps, and used the terrain to their advantage. By the end of the skirmish, most of the enemy had retreated, and his squad had survived against impossible odds. The Xylan observers could hardly believe what they were seeing. "They should be crushed," one muttered. "Yet they adapt, they fight, and they win." Captain Alara moved to a central command point, coordinating reinforcements and monitoring the battlefield. She issued orders that combined strategy with intuition, adapting as situations changed. Humans were fluid, flexible, and unpredictable, and their enemies could not keep up. Even the civilians on Arden Prime, who had once feared the humans, began to rally. Humans rescued trapped citizens, shared supplies, and rebuilt shelters. Their courage and kindness inspired those around them. The Silen, who had studied countless species, could not comprehend the combination of bravery, intelligence, and compassion they witnessed. "They are remarkable," one Xylan observer said quietly. "They fight not only with weapons but with heart. Every move, every decision, it is calculated, yet full of spirit." As the day continued, the tide of battle began to turn. Humans reclaimed lost positions, disrupted enemy supply lines, and forced the aliens to retreat in several areas. Their small numbers did not stop them. Their ingenuity and determination compensated for every disadvantage. Captain Alara watched her soldiers, proud but vigilant. "We are not done yet," she said. "The fight continues, and the enemy will not give up easily. Stay alert, Work together and remember what we are fighting for. Even as night approached, humans remained active. Scouts moved silently through enemy territory, gathering intelligence. Medics treated the wounded, sometimes under fire. Engineers repaired damaged equipment, ensuring that every tool and weapon remained ready. Humans were relentless, adaptable, and unstoppable. The Xylan could no longer hide their awe and fear. "They are changing the battle," one whispered. "No species we have studied could do this. They are extraordinary." Another Xylan nodded slowly. "It is not just their skill," it said. "It is their unity, their courage, their will to protect one another. This could alter the outcome of the war." By the end of the day, the humans had achieved what many had thought impossible. They had turned the tide, claiming victories that should have been out of reach. Their enemies were confused, frustrated, and increasingly fearful. And the Xylan, watching silently from orbit, began to realize that humanity was a force unlike any they had ever encountered. Captain Alara stood on a ridge, looking over the battlefield as the last rays of sunlight faded. Her soldiers were exhausted but ready. Their spirit burned bright and their determination was unshakable. They had faced overwhelming odds and prevailed not just because of strategy, but because of heart, courage, and unity. The Xylan observers exchanged glances. They had studied war for centuries, calculated every possible outcome, and yet humans had defied every prediction. Humans were not only survivors, they were innovators, leaders, and heroes. And as the stars shone over Arden Prime that night, one thing became clear to all who watched. The humans had turned the tide, and their spirit would not be broken no matter the challenge. The battlefield of Arden Prime was quiet now, though the scars of war were everywhere. Craters pockmarked the plains, smoke drifted from damaged vehicles, and buildings lay in ruins. Yet amid the destruction there was a sense of triumph. Humans had survived, and against impossible odds they had won. Captain Ilara Dane walked through the aftermath with her soldiers. Their uniforms were torn, faces smudged with dirt and soot, but their eyes were bright with relief and pride. They had fought hard, sacrificed much, and endured more than anyone could have imagined. "We did it," said Private Mira Solis, her voice full of exhaustion and awe. "We actually did it." Ilara smiled, but her mind was already on the next steps. "Yes," she said, "but the fight is never over. We must protect what we have won and help those who need us. That is what makes us strong." Humans moved quickly to rebuild. They repaired shelters for civilians, cleared streets of debris, and distributed food and water. They tended to the wounded regardless of which side they had fought on, showing a compassion that stunned even the Xylan observers. From orbit, the Xylan watched in silence. They had come expecting to see humans struggle, perhaps fail. Instead, they had witnessed a species that was fearless, intelligent, and compassionate. Every battle, every decision, every act of courage had impressed them. The humans were not just survivors, they were leaders, innovators, and heroes. "They have exceeded every expectation," one Xylan whispered. "They fought not only with weapons, but with heart. They inspire even those who are not their own. They are extraordinary," another said. "I cannot recall any species with such courage, adaptability, and unity. They are frighteningly capable." On the ground, Captain Alara gathered her team. "You all have done something incredible," she said. "Not because we had the strongest weapons or the biggest numbers, but because we worked together, trusted each other, and never gave up. Remember this, and remember why we fight, not just for victory, but for each other." Her words spread among the soldiers. They nodded quietly, understanding that their strength had never been only in technology or strategy. It had been in their hearts, their will, and their unity. Enemy forces, scattered and demoralized, began to retreat. Humans allowed them to leave safely when possible, showing mercy even in victory. The Xylan, still observing, could not hide their astonishment. "They fight fiercely," one said, "but they are also fair, compassionate. How is this possible?" Humans did not linger on anger or revenge. They rebuilt, they helped, and they protected. On Arden Prime, communities started to heal. Soldiers who had once feared the battle now helped civilians recover, teaching them how to defend themselves and work together. Captain Alara stood on a hill overlooking the planet. Fires burned in the distance, signaling both destruction and life. She looked at her soldiers, at the civilians, and felt a deep sense of pride. Humanity had faced an enemy stronger than themselves and had prevailed through courage, intelligence, and heart. The Xylan observers transmitted their reports back to their own worlds. They spoke of humans as a species unlike any they had ever encountered. They are unpredictable, they said. They combine fearlessness, intelligence, and compassion in ways that make them extraordinary. Perhaps one day they will surpass even us. As night fell, humans gathered around small fires. Stories were shared, wounds were tended, and laughter rose softly over the battlefield. Even after such hardship, their spirit remained unbroken. Captain Alara joined them, sitting among her soldiers. "We have done something remarkable," she said quietly. "But remember, the true measure of victory is not what we destroy, but what we protect and build together." The stars above Arden Prime shone brightly, reflecting in the eyes of humans and aliens alike. For the first time, the Gailan felt a mixture of fear and admiration. They had underestimated this species, and now they understood. Humans were not only capable of great strength, they were capable of great greatness. In the days that followed, humans worked tirelessly to restore order and help the planet recover. They shared knowledge, repaired infrastructure, and offered guidance to the local inhabitants. Their courage in battle had earned respect, but their compassion earned love and loyalty from those they protected. The Xylan, still watching from afar, realized a profound truth. Humanity's strength was not in machines, numbers, or technology. It was in their spirit, their unity, and their unwavering will to do what is right. They were a species to be remembered, to be feared if challenged, and to be admired for their courage. And so, as the smoke cleared and Arden Prime slowly began to heal, humans stood victorious. They had faced the impossible, endured the unimaginable, and shown the galaxy the power of the human heart. In every act of bravery, in every gesture of kindness, and in every decision made with courage, humans had proven that they were extraordinary beyond measure. The Xylan watched, horrified and inspired, knowing that the humans of Earth had changed the way the galaxy would see them forever.